right, hello, health heads. Welcome and thank you for checking in to this dose of the Healthcare Uprising. I'm your producer, Jeremy Carr, here on the couch with your host, Heather Pierce. For those on YouTube, you'll notice a little difference in how we're sitting today.
Once again, we have changed.
We've got rid of the table. We're on the couch.
Yep.
But anywho, what's on our agenda for today, Heather?
Today we have Lance Wilson, who is really just kind of an all-around really super great guy who happens to have a lot of lived experience in addiction and recovery. And so although he is not like a trained behavioral health therapist or clinician of any kind, he's taken his kind of, his life experiences and has really started doing a lot of deep work in family recovery and around addiction. And so he gives talks. He wrote a book here, The Wizard's Guide to Family Recovery.
You can see it right there.
Right here. If you see it there on the video. I met him through the Deadhead community, Grateful Dead. I talk about that a lot, at least on social media.
I love how much we talked about jam music in this episode.
We did. We actually talked a lot about jam bands, but that's how I met him. And we talked a little bit about the sober community in the jam band music scene that a lot of people.
Yes, that's a thing.
It is a thing. And yeah, so just a really interesting conversation. And he's my new friend. So
me too.
Yeah.
Looking forward to hanging out with him at the next Dead thing.
Yeah.
But so without further ado, here is our conversation with author Lance Wilson.
Hi, and welcome to the Healthcare Uprising podcast. Today we have with us a very special guest in studio, Lance Wilson, who came up all the way from Tucson.
Nice.
Yeah. And Lance is very focused in family recovery. He's a speaker. He gives talks. He's written a couple of books. And so we're going to talk about family recovery around addiction and all of the wonderful not wonderful, but the lived life experiences that you've had that has led you to this very meaningful work. So Lance, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And we love being in Flagstaff. Home is Tucson, but
especially in August.
We come up here, especially during the monsoon season, to beat the heat and to hang out with wonderful people like you.
Yeah. And I should mention, so Lance and I met over Memorial Day weekend this year at the Grateful Festival. Grateful Festival.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yep. T-shirt he's got there because I side gig work on marketing and social media for the festival, and you and your wife came up. And anyway, the Dead community is one that we both love and cherish and are very invested into. And I don't know if I told you this when we met, is that we, at the beginning of every single show, Jeremy has his open and he says, "Hello, health heads." That is a direct nod to Deadheads.
I have listened to a few and I've heard that. I love it.
Yep, that's where it came from. I was
it comes directly from our hippiness.
Yes, it does.
And a little bit later, I think we'll probably talk about the Dead community and
we will,
and the recovery circles within that community.
We are.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
That is in my notes here. So not everybody understands what family recovery means. So, and you haven't always been in this work either. So I know you shared with me earlier some of your background, so this is not, you're not a therapist. You haven't worked in the medical healthcare space, but your lived experience kind of led you into this work. So you can give us kind of a background about what happened across your life to inspire you to do this. Sure. And really any other color that you want to add to the story. So.
Okay. Thank you. Well, some of this may be dark, but I'm gonna start with a positive statement right off the get-go that I feel like the luckiest person in the world. I've had a very blessed life. I've been married to the love of my life for 35 years and been in my own recovery for 42 years now. And some of my life experiences, I'm an adult child, I'm an alcoholic, and I'll be throwing some terms and definitions around, but I also want to stress that I think it's important we understand that background and the history and how that type of trauma affects people. But also I refuse to be defined by past circumstances. I've learned a lot from it. So my father committed suicide when I was 12 years old. He was an alcoholic and lost his battle with that disease when I was 12. And unfortunately, kids often take on responsibility for stuff that's not theirs to own. So for many years, I thought, Dad's death was my fault, if I only could have gotten better grades, or, you pick any reason. And, I did sort of my own, I guess, numbing with substances until 27, and saw some patterns just like my father's developing, and was blessed. I just stopped. It was, pretty easy for me. Unfortunately, it isn't that easy for many people.
True.
And then I really started working on some codependency issues. And this was in the mid 80s, and I was in Phoenix. And fortunately, there was a therapist actually at a men's group meeting. I think it was every other Wednesday night for several months, talking about feelings of all things, even back in the 80s.
In the 80s of all.
A bunch of men talking about feelings.
Men have feelings?
Exactly.
So.
So, I did a lot of work on codependency and understanding, what we have control over and what we don't. And then 16 years ago or so now, we have one son who's going to be 32 September 1st. And when he was 16, he crashed and burned and was suicidal and battling depression and using a lot of drugs. And he wound up in a treatment center for a while. And one of his therapists suggested my wife and I go to meetings. And my reaction was, like many family members, I was like, I quit all that shit at 27. Why do I have to go to a meeting?
Yeah.
And fortunately, we were in Las
Vegas. Like Al-Anon? Or
Al-Anon eventually, and Nar-Anon. And we'll get to that in a minute.
Yep.
But first we were in Las Vegas, and the Las Vegas Recovery Center had a free support meeting for families if a loved one was in their facility or didn't even have to be in their facility. And we started going to those family support meetings. They were Friday night, 2 hours or so. And I think for 18 months, that was our date night. I think we missed a couple Friday nights. And then from there, and, you learn things about codependency and what control you have over others, which is pretty much none.
None.
Yeah.
And then
we all deal with codependency in some form or another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And from there, I branched out and started attending Nar-Anon meetings. I mean, people are probably more familiar with Al-Anon, and it's linked to AA, but NA is for Narcotics Anonymous, and they have a similar group, Nar-Anon, that's 12-step based. And I started going to those meetings and worked on my own recovery there.
Okay.
And so that was sort of how I got into it. And we could fast forward another 10 or 12 years, but any questions along the way? Or
So the Anons are similar to AA, but a different program?
They are. You really work your own steps. So, and, I'm more of a whatever works type of recovery guy. I'm not a rabid 12-stepper, nothing against it. For many people, it's wonderful. And I think if it works. So the first step in Narcotics Anonymous is I'm powerless over the drug. The first step for Nar-Anon is I'm powerless over the addict. So it's really focusing on your own, but you sort of work the same 12 steps. You make amends, you turn it over, you recognize what you have control over. So you're working the same 12 steps. You get a sponsor, and it's pretty much the same.
Okay.
And I still, I'm very blessed. I don't feel like I've been affected by the trauma of someone in mental illness or active addiction for several years now. And I still go to a Nar-Anon meeting in Tucson, maybe 1 or 2 Saturday mornings a month. And they're wonderful people. And, I still learn something, and hopefully I go to share what I may have learned over the years. I also think once you think you've mastered this stuff is when you're in trouble, though. So I keep going back.
That's interesting.
The vanity gets you every time, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Wow. Well, and that's cool, though, that you have that like self-awareness to know that I still need this, right? Or that you're giving them. I mean, you give talks, right? That's partially why you're sitting here on this couch and how I found you.
Yep.
And so obviously you're giving something back, right? Like there's probably people that are coming into those meetings that are just starting, and you're like, I've been doing this for a while, right?
Yeah.
So you're offering some wisdom, I'm sure.
I hope so. And it's also so important. You're absolutely right. It's so important to also stay humble and remember, where my wife and I were when our son first crashed and burned. He spent pretty much when he was 16 years old, a whole year in a lockdown, facility to keep him from killing himself, basically. And we first started going to meetings, and we were crying every night and trauma that, I'm not ashamed to admit. And then after you keep coming back and keep going to those meetings, and I've seen it in so many people, they show up at the meetings, and after 3, 4, 5 months, it's hard to put a time frame on it. their situation may have not changed on the outside. Maybe their loved one, their child, sometimes it's their spouse or parent that has the addiction problem. It doesn't seem to have gotten any better, but I see a little bit of a lightness in themselves. They start taking care of themselves. They start playing sports again. They start, smiling a little bit. So, and so that's what it's about with the personal recovery and family recovery.
Yeah.
It's the whole finding a reason to wake up in the morning, really, right? Like the motivation to live a happier, cleaner life, as it were.
Correct.
Well, and I think what's different and what interested in talking to you when I was sitting there in the grass at the Grateful Festival and we met and I saw you giving that talk to the other folks that had came and sat around in this great little spot and you were talking to them about recovery. I think mostly people think about recovery being an individual thing. And so when I saw family recovery, I'm like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, you're right. Because I have family, both dead and alive, who have suffered from addiction, right? Some have overcame, some lost their battle. So I've seen kind of all of it. And I never considered it as, oh, wait, this is like a group thing here. Like
it's traumatic for everyone near you too. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, it's worse for the person with the addiction, but the addiction affects more than just the person on the drug. It's everyone around you, everyone
100%.
who cares for you, everyone who wants you to keep on living.
Yeah.
When you don't want to necessarily, like,
right.
I mean, it goes way beyond. That's why you have these organizations like, the
Nar-Anon, Al-Anon,
and Narcotics Anonymous, and the Anon and the Anon, and
every single recovery program that exists in this country, which are many.
There are groups like that just for family members of addicts and stuff too, right?
Correct. Well, that's really what Nar-Anon is, just for the family members.
Oh, so that's not for the actual addicts.
No, the addicts usually don't show up.
Oh, there you go.
If someone wants to, bring a member in, I've never seen anyone kick anybody out, but it's really not for them. And actually, our son has been. We'll fast forward eventually to, a few years ago, but he's been in recovery for 3 years now and doing fantastic. I'm super proud of him. And he actually came with me to a Nar-Anon meeting. He was with us in Tucson over the holidays. And, he left and said, these are very different than, he goes to AA meetings and NA meetings. He said at those meetings, either you're using or you're not. It's a pretty black and white question. Right. Said this stuff about codependency and your mental well-being is fuzzier. It's a little bit harder to tell how well you're doing. And so that was an interesting aspect that he had on it, going to one of those meetings for the first time.
So in talking about this, and because we kind of hinted to this too, going back to this whole like dead community, the Grateful Dead, and it's the culture and the whole thing. And talking about all of these Nar-Anon, Al-Anon, you talking about family recovery, there's something really special about the Deadhead community too around addiction and recovery, and the wharf rats. Can you share a little bit about that? Because that's, I think, something particularly unique and special, or at least to Deadheads, and then also like the jam band community, which you're going to expand on a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, I've been doing some public speaking about a book I wrote about family recovery that I know we'll get to eventually.
We will get to that.
And in my book, actually, I have a sort of a jam band scene built in. I give a shout out to Goose, one of my favorite bands, the Alligators, a band from Southern Cal. And there are sort of Deadhead quotes built in throughout my book. Two of my characters go to a Dead and Company concert and hang out with the Wharf Rats. Nice. So the Wharf Rats is a group of Deadheads who are clean and sober. And the reason I like talking about that, and I'm not going to sit here and deny the fact that the Grateful Dead and many of the jam band community, there's a drug element involved there. I'm not going to deny that. And also, I'm not a total abstinence guy. It doesn't work for me. If someone could take a couple drinks once in a while or, smoke some weed, I had no judgment here. It just doesn't work for me. But what's really fun with and special with the Wharf Rats is at a concert, whether it could be a larger cover band, but when Dead and Company was performing, went up to the Sphere, you'd see people with a button that says one show at a time.
Yeah, it's a yellow button.
The yellow button.
Yep.
The motto for AA and NA is one day at a time. So in the jam band community, it's one show at a time. And you see people with buttons on, and you give them a high five. And again, not that we're better than anybody else. It's just nice. You can resonate. I don't think the Sphere permitted this, but most venues with the jam band community, during the set break, there'll be a meeting, and there's a table set up with yellow balloons so you can identify where the meeting is. And every band, Fish is the fellowship with the PHELL to play on the Fish. Let me think here. Billy Strings is the Dusty Baggies, and as oftentimes
he's California sober.
Yeah, exactly. Oftentimes it's linked to one of their songs, like the Wharf Rat song with the Grateful Dead is about somebody down on their luck, right? Yep. Goose, the sober group for Goose is Hot Tea. That's one of their songs. So they're drinking hot tea rather than whiskey.
I live on hot tea.
There you go.
I'm drinking hot tea right now.
And Widespread Panic, they might be the Jellyfish. No, String Cheese is the Jellyfish. So these are usually named after one of their songs. Yep. But there's a whole community out there, and I have a bumper sticker that says, you don't have to be on dope to dance. So there is a community out there that you can resonate with, and
there is a certain irony to it too, because people who are not in the jam band community at all, they really think it's all about drugs. And they think that the Grateful Dead and Fish and all these bands, that the only reason anyone goes to those shows is to do drugs.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate that this proves that is not the case, that it is about the music.
Yeah.
And I'm 3 shows away from 100 Fish shows right now.
So. Well, then you would know Trey's been in recovery for going on 10,
since Coventry, 10, 12,
basically. 10, 12 years now. He's funded a whole recovery center in Vermont that's doing great stuff.
That would have been
Divided Sky.
I'm trying to think, because Coventry was 2004. And then he had his big arrest and stuff soon after that. I think he's been clean since like 2007-ish. Yeah. So he's going on 20 years clean.
And the interesting thing, because I've talked with the woman that is the director of the Divided Sky Recovery Center that he helped form. She was his drug counselor in drug court in the courts in New York.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think he pulled her away to form this recovery center.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I shouldn't say pulled her away. She agreed to go with him to form this.
Well, he saw the way she worked and he liked it. That's good.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
So, but you're right. I see eyes opening if I speak to large groups and nothing, no one in the music community. They're like, really, that exists? And it's like, yeah, it exists. So
yeah.
Like I have done drugs at Fish shows, but definitely like far from all of them. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, I think I'm proof that you can be a massively huge fan of the Dead and not do hard drugs.
Yeah.
It's
all about the music, man. The music is the drug. That's the thing. The music is the drug.
It really is. For me,
the whole thing.
Like, I don't need anything. I love it. And I will dance and I will sing every lyric and I will enjoy every second 100% sober.
And you will be totally euphoric the whole time without any drugs.
Yeah. You don't need it. So, yeah.
That's why that music's so good, because it can do that to you.
It's just that good. It's just that good.
And another, one of my hobbies, and I think we all need things we do just for fun. I've been painting since college, and I'm working on a painting of every Grateful Dead song. I think I have 15 done. I have 60 more to do.
Boy.
But I'm also doing a painting of all the different recovery groups. I have Goose with a teacup with the yellow balloon going up. I have Fish with their symbol in a fish bowl and some yellow balloons going up. And
I love it.
And the circle. Cool. What's the circle that?
Fish.
The drummer with.
Fishman's thing.
Yeah, there you go. His circle built in. Yeah.
The circle. It's like on everything. Like exactly. That's a fish thing.
Oh yeah.
The muumuu that he wears. Right?
Yeah.
The Homer Simpson muumuu, as I think of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not as into fish.
He wears a pink muumuu with like pineapple ring.
I know what it is though. Yeah. Okay.
Because drummers should wear dresses, because think of what they're doing.
I mean, yes, of course they should wear dresses.
Just the problem is when he takes it off. That's the problem.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, Halloween '94. They did the Beatles' White Album, and Fishman came out for singing number 9, And when he hit the line, "And if we shall become naked," he pulled his muumuu off. I was like second row, and I was like, "Oh, dude."
Oh,
I wasn't expecting that.
it's been burned and etched into my memory forever.
And that was one of those shows where I did do the drugs. So, yeah.
Things you can't unsee.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I will always remember Naked Fishman.
Well, I
It's
love
in
that.
my brain.
See,
Where is this conversation going?
Nowhere. Nowhere quickly. This is my job. We're going to pull it back together here, guys.
Please. I have no idea what just happened.
But I do. Talking about the wharf rats and the jam band community, and I think some of the misconceptions about, all those things, right? Like there are people that are enjoying this music completely sober, so or can, right? So anyway, it's a wonderful thing. I wanted to call attention to it because I just don't think there's any other music communities in music that have this that I'm aware of anyway.
Well, surprisingly, and I'll try to say this without any judgment, somewhere on my Facebook feed or something popped up that Taylor Swift has a recovery group also, which is cool, but I don't associate that, so whatever works, right?
Most of her fans are teenage girls, right?
Yeah.
Not that teenage girls don't have addiction problems.
Exactly. I was just surprised.
That's a little,
But
you don't
also,
expect it
I'm
from
glad.
I mean, she's such a pop star.
Right. Yeah. It was surprising to me.
And
But
maybe
she's
I'm
such a
being
good-
judgmental back though.
she's like a really good person.
Yeah,
Like I feel like if anyone was going to do it, would definitely be
Right. Yeah.
It would be
Hey, no judgment. I was just
Tay
surprised.
or whatever they
Correct.
call her.
Yeah.
Swifties.
We don't want to get calls from the Swifties.
Good for you, Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
No, I like that's cool. Like no judgment at all. Cool. Good for you.
I don't listen to anyone that popular.
Still, that jam bands are better. Just saying.
Yeah.
With that, let's move on to the book part of this. And now you give talks, obviously, and I saw you
hold
give
that
one.
up for the camera.
We will. This is A Wizard's Guide to Family Recovery. Lance, tell us about this. This is pretty
Sure.
cool stuff.
Gladly.
I like that it's a wizard's guide.
Well, there's Merlin the Wizard as a main character.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's actually
I need to read that.
I call it a self-help book disguised as a novel. So it's really a fiction,
Perfect.
but I think I need to go back to the inspiration for it.
Yeah, let's
and
do that.
kind of shift back to our son's story a little bit because it's important in this. So he, when he, I mentioned his troubles when he was 16, and he, got out of that recovery center and did very well in college, got an amazing job, brilliant mathematician, never really embraced recovery. And, he's being honest. He had a job doing well, not, no judgment there. And brilliant mind, almost like the Jonathan Nash Beautiful Mind, and brilliant mathematician, coder, working in the AI high tech scene in San Francisco. And he was forming a new company and decided to go off his antidepressants overnight and crashed and burned big time and wound up on the streets in psychosis and battling addiction. And
It's amazing how quickly that
psychosis.
can happen.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. And so he spent 18 months houseless, and we went for 6 months, not even knowing, not having any contact or knowing where he was. And, it's the kind of time where you get the call and you hope it's the jail and not the morgue. And, it was a very, very dark time for us. And my wife and I were both pleased. We had already had about 15 years of family recovery work, and both of our parents, dads were alcoholics. So we understood the limited control we had. I'm not saying it made it any easier, but we were talking earlier about, the brain disease of addiction, and the goal of that disease is to kill the addict and anybody around and family members if they let it.
Yeah.
So we, even despite that dark time, we were still going out dancing and making art. We're both artists and traveling. And, I'm not trying to sound cold about it. If I want to lay on the couch one day a week because our son's missing and cry, that's okay too. So during that time, I had no plans on ever writing a book about family recovery or fiction. And I'm not very providential, but I sat up in bed and just saw this whole book flash before my eyes. It was one of the strangest things that ever happened. It's 3 a.m. I get up ridiculously early anyway. I went right to the computer and started typing, and I had more fun writing this book than I can even put into words. Something happened, And
Just
writing
flowed out of you.
it was very, very strange. And I also had no idea what I was doing, which made it easier. And writing fiction, we didn't mention this earlier, I worked for the federal courts for 30 years where you're writing very precise. You're not leaving anything open for the imagination. And fiction is totally different. I could make up, Merlin the wizard. Actually, so Merlin the wizard takes the form of a queen in a chess set and brings a little pawn into awareness and messes up the champ because Merlin, from the King Arthur stories, is aging backwards as wizards do.
Right.
So Merlin messes up the champ. Merlin meant to make this little pawn independent, but was befuddled and made the pawn codependent. So Merlin's dealing with a codependent pawn. Merlin's been in this chess set. I'm moving into the plot. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're
Okay.
good.
I love this.
So
Keep it going.
I had so much fun with it. And I've gotten really positive results from, the 5 people that have read it. No, more than that.
Well, add
it's
6
out
and
there.
7.
6 and 7.
Yeah.
So for Merlin's been in this chess set for centuries and been in the possession of kings and Ben Franklin and presidents and people like that, some recovery groups, some different chess grandmasters. After my dad's suicide, I was in 8th grade, and all throughout high school and college, I became a very competitive chess player. My grades still sucked, but chess was the one thing I excelled at. And I always thought about doing something on chess. And a lot of recovery centers and prisons are using chess as a way to teach patience, delayed gratification, which, addicts aren't really good at, and, foresight and planning and losing gracefully, which I still don't.
You're
know
like,
how to-
I'm still not
especially
good at that.
Especially in chess. I hate to lose. So building Merlin into the chess set seemed to make sense. And for the past 10 years, this chess set has been in the possession of a guy named Arnie, who's going to a recovery center because his wife was an alcoholic. She passed away about 10 years ago, but he goes to share what wisdom he may have gained over the years. And he goes to family support meetings at a recovery center once a month. And Michael shows up because he saw a flyer about a family recovery program at the grocery store. His son is missing on the streets. So all of this is real life experience. Everything in this is either something I've lived through,
Based on real events. Is
something I heard at a meeting. Now I
So
tried
it's
to
fiction, but
based on real
Yeah.
events is what the movie will say at the
Yeah.
beginning.
exactly.
right.
And I tried to, keep anonymity, so Michael shows up at this meeting like I was. Why do I need to be here? It's not, I don't have the drug problem. His son is missing on the streets, just like our son was. His daughter is living at home and an alcoholic. And he hits it off with Arnie. And once a month they go to this meeting. And after the meeting, they process what they learned over a game of chess. And unbeknownst to them, Merlin the wizard and QP is the little pawn, which stands for Queen's Pawn. They listen. The humans never know these chess pieces are aware or alive. So the next chapter, Merlin and QP go back in the velvet chess bag, which I call the cocoon, for a place of growth and metamorphosis. Is that right? Close enough.
Metamorphosis.
Okay.
The transformative
Right.
pod.
And they process what they heard those guys talking about at the family recovery meeting, topics like codependency, the serenity prayer, the brain disease of addiction. I have a chapter on communication styles. So they'll process that and talk about what they learned. And occasionally, and this is why I built in the owl, Archimedes is Merlin's owl.
Oh, yeah.
So,
the owl with the puzzle
yeah.
heart.
So yeah, the whole idea of the cover is the owl is putting puzzle pieces back in a wounded heart. So that's what the cover stands for. So Archimedes swoops in, and there's some time travel. Archimedes takes QP and Merlin to visit Nelson Mandela in jail to learn about forgiveness. And Nelson Mandela played a lot of chess in jail. So most of the people they visit were avid chess players also. They visit Ben Franklin, who wrote one of the first articles about chess. And they visit Abe Lincoln and watch him playing chess with, I think it was a Chief Justice. I forget the name. But so there's some time travel mixed in with the lessons.
I love all the characters that you bring in.
And those are the
with
four,
these like lessons.
Yeah, the 4 main.
It's a fantasy novel, but it's about recovery.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And
It is pretty cool.
There's also some humor built in. Those of us, I think Highlights magazine is actually still out there.
Does that really
But
still exist?
I saw it, but I grew up with Highlights magazine where the
Yes, I read Highlights in the 80s.
Goofus and Gallant cartoons. Goofus was the mess up, the dirty kid that never cleaned up his room, and Gallant was always, prim and proper and the good kid.
Yeah.
So Michael's archangel and nemesis are Goofus and Gallant sitting on each shoulder, and they yell in his ear like, you don't need to be at this recovery meeting, and they get in fights with each other. And I mean, I have a whole chapter on humor with some silly recovery related jokes built in, like one of my favorites is a woman was driving home at 2 a.m. and swerving all over the road, obviously intoxicated, and she gets pulled over, and the officer says, ma'am, well, where were you going? It's 2 a.m. She says, well, officer, I'm on the way to a lecture. He says, ma'am, I'm not stupid. No one's giving a lecture at 2 a.m. She says, you obviously haven't met my husband.
But
I also think, there's nothing funny about this disease, and we need to keep a sense of humor. So I try to keep it light at times and build in some humor and some lightness in it. So again, I had a lot of fun writing it. I love speaking about it. I've talked to several different groups. I'm comfortable being on stage with 300 people or 3 people or a book club. And you saw me do that talk at the Grateful Fest, or you heard part of it. So.
I did. Yeah. My husband and my friend listened to it for a while too, because I was off running. But you give talks too, right? So like, what does that look like? Where do you show up for that? Like who would have you come and speak with them?
Well, I'll go anywhere. And also I'm not, I'm really not trying to make money off of this. I'm very blessed. Now, if someone is paying speakers a lot of money, I won't turn it down.
Sure.
So far in Tucson, I've talked to an assisted living place. There's a group called the PIMA Coalition. I think it's PIMA Prevention Coalition. Deals with a lot of different things, tobacco, you name it. I gave a talk with them. I spoke with both federal courts in Tucson and Phoenix, especially the probation officers. They serve dual role. They're law enforcement and counselors. So, but anybody dealing with the public, I've talked to some book clubs down there, some recovery centers. I've gone in and actually talked with the people that live in the recovery center because, their counselor said, and I'm not trying to guilt anybody, but they said, we want them to hear the family experience, and understand what I'm an addict also, what we put our family through when we're going through that stuff. So, and I love, many people are shy about public speaking, and I somewhat jokingly say, I played the clown in our alcoholic family as a child, and I love being on stage. I think, you're trying to smooth things over with humor in those situations. So I'll go talk to any group or a Zoom. I had a really fun experience. There's FIDA is the International Chess Association. Last July, they had a whole chess and recovery month.
Oh, wow.
And I was a guest speaker on an international Zoom session. That was a lot of fun, talking about my book and how I weave chess into my book, which was fun also. So
cool. I keep thinking of recovery court, like here in Flagstaff. Do you deal with recovery court peeps?
I have not. And, part of it is I'm having so much fun. Marketing isn't my foray. There's so much. I'm just skimming the surface. And I've had a lot of experience. We developed the recovery court and the federal court in Nevada when I was there. And I was blessed to know one of the judges that ran a recovery court in Las Vegas. And I went to a lot of his family support meetings, even though our son was never in his program. So the value the value of drug courts is huge. I would love to talk to any drug courts because I think my experience with the courts adds a little bit of credibility. I'm reaching out. Every state has a lawyer assistance program because I don't know the statistics, but lawyers have their addiction and alcohol problems are as high as anybody. So every state bar has a lawyer assistance program. So I'm just now starting to break into that and talk to some of those groups. One challenge I found is there are many national groups. There's a national, Naranon group. There's a national codependency group. There's a national group on adult children of alcoholics. Most of them are 12-step based. And one of the rules in 12-step is they can't endorse any outside group. And anyone who's written a book can't come and speak to them. So
Oh, really?
I get it. I respect it. I don't have to like it. It's
Yeah.
frustrating. I've tried to break
Self-limiting.
in. Well, I even offered one group. I said, I'll give you 100 free copies. I won't charge anything. I just, I'm trying to be of service at my
Right.
advanced age, and it's like, nope. And I guess I get it. They're just so,
because they're selling their program, right?
well, I don't think there's really a cost to attend that.
Well,
I wouldn't
selling
take it.
and-
Yes, I wouldn't take. I just think that they're rabid about that rule or practice of any outside group that comes in, even being a recovery center, couldn't come in and pitch their program because it's endorsing an outside group. So
That seems
hey,
counteractive.
well,
Right?
I respect it. I don't like it, and I'm not making the rules. So
Going to get in trouble for this one, but it sounds like they're trying to turn it into more of a religion than a recovery process by
yeah.
not letting anyone else in the door, kind of like you have to do it our way.
Mm,
yeah,
It's very, like, to me, that's not helpful.
right.
That you have to do it just our
And these
way.
are Jeremy's opinions only.
This is just my opinion.
Jeremy has lots of opinions.
and again,
I talk out my butt a lot, everybody.
and I do think that's there definitely is a spiritual aspect of every 12-step program, and I'm a pretty devout atheist, and I guess the way I get around some of that is the power of turning it over to a higher power is turning it over to the group, not anything outside of the group.
Mhm.
But still, it's a stretch sometimes, and that's why I think some people look for other alternatives. There's also a smart recovery that is not I have a section of my book about smart recovery. I'm not going to try the initials right here because
Okay.
I didn't
all right.
refer to that. But that's they have 4 elements, and there's no spiritual basis with the smart recovery. I don't think those groups are as prevalent, but they're around. I also just saw something that popped up: pals, parents of addicted loved ones.
Okay.
And I don't know anything about it, but when you start searching something, on Facebook or anywhere, everything else starts popping up, whether that's good or bad.
Right.
So there are a number of different groups out there. I just found a group out of Southern Philadelphia or Southern Pennsylvania that has recovery meetings in every city around there, Zoom, in person. They're not 12-step based.
Mhm.
The facilitators go through some training to be a facilitator. They're not professional counselors.
Okay.
And I've been jumping in on some of their Zoom sessions and enjoying it, and meeting some interesting people. And it's sad, so sometimes I come away from those meetings counting our blessings. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and when you and I were talking earlier today too, I said it's like, who doesn't have addiction in their family somewhere, or codependency, which often go hand in hand, right?
correct.
I mean, I literally started listing off all the people in my life
Mhm.
that have been an addict at some point in their life, and that number is a pretty high number.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's look, I'm sure Flagstaff has the same situation. Every street corner in Tucson has 2 or 3 people on it.
Yeah.
And, I hope, and I'd like to think I've always been sensitive
Mhm.
to the houseless or homeless,
Unhoused.
unhoused. I'm sorry. Thank you. But when our only child's there, you become a little more sensitive to it.
Mhm.
And, every single person on that street has a family that hopefully still loves them, hasn't given up on them.
Right.
Maybe they have, but it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
It really, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them are there because they don't have family. That's actually part of it.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't have anyone to help,
Mhm.
and they ran out, and there
Right.
was no one to pick them up.
Or just the lack of behavioral health services in this country alone. And that's something I really want to touch on too, just like from you being in this space, like from your opinion, like where has the system failed, right? I don't know. I'm just kind of, that's only your opinion, right? Like you're not coming at this from like a clinical psychologist
Right.
perspective or
Correct.
a behavioral therapist, but being in recovery yourself, having dealt with this with your son, like I think anyone who's been through something like that, you have those life experiences.
Mhm.
Where has the system been broken, and where has it failed?
Right. I've not thought that in a macro level about it
Mhm.
that much. I think a lot of it, like many things, comes down to money.
Yeah.
No one wants to fund
Yeah.
to really take care of people. And it's all linked to mental illness also. The one thing I didn't comment on yet, and I want to make sure I do, is when our son fell into some real mental illness, and addiction is a mental illness, but when you have a bipolar or psychosis on top of addiction, that adds a different element to it. There's the National Alliance on Mental Illness,
NAMI,
NAMI. Their family support meetings were wonderful for us.
Okay.
And Joy and I started going through those. This was still sort of tail end of the quarantine where we weren't that comfortable being around a lot of people, and they had a lot of Zoom meetings we started attending, and I've become very active with NAMI in Tucson, and I've done some book signings, donating my books to them. I go to a monthly NAMI family support meeting in Tucson, and they have meetings at least once a week somewhere.
So they probably have chapters in like every
big city has a NAMI. Yeah, I don't think there are any. I didn't find any meetings in Flagstaff. If so, I'd go just to meet some people and share something. But I didn't see any here. But there are Zoom meetings.
There's probably enough deadheads that we could all get together here in Flagstaff.
Right.
There are plenty here. Yeah,
that's your support group.
Exactly.
We do have some places. I can tell you after there's actually some centers here that all they do is meetings. And,
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like which ones? Name them off, actually.
No
pressure. Northland?
There's like an Al-Anon house or whatever it's called. I'm forgetting exactly what they call it over in Sunnyside.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's literally a community house where there's meetings
Really?
every night, and they do picnics and barbecues and big group events all the time.
I know there's meetings at the Federated Church downtown.
I have taxi driver knowledge of places. Like I've never been inside, but I know it's there, and I know people go there a lot because I drive them there because they can't drive because they had a DUI,
Right. So there's resources, just not something like NAMI. Okay. Or NAMI? Am I saying it right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one, but we definitely have the AAs and the NAs and all the Anon groups and things like that here. There's meetings all over the place all the time in this town.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of the NAMI though, so yeah, I'm not sure we have that here at all.
Yeah, I'm guessing not if you didn't find it. So
there's probably a statewide branch, but I don't think there are any specific offices or meetings. And
sometimes Flagstaff lacks certain resources.
As much as we try to deny it, we're still a small town.
Yeah, exactly. So just to kind of let's bring the conversation around to start
Are we at that time?
We're about at that time. We're going to start wrapping things up. You obviously bring a lot of insight, wisdom, knowledge from, lived experiences, to these talks, to your books, actually, because you have another book. We didn't really talk about that one, but.
Oh, you have another book?
I do.
That one's not so much about family recovery versus what is
my first book is titled Dashboard Bagels, Dishing Up Food for Thought.
Nice.
And is 19 individual chapters, real life stories that I personally experienced of people dealing with adversity in an interesting or healthy way. Some just life lessons that I learned from my mom and dad. If there's one theme to probably 12 or 13 of the chapters is that we have a choice over how we respond to any situation, which is like a duh statement, but how many of us, none of us, have messed up relationships or jobs because we forgot that, right?
Sure.
I'll
go with that.
And that one was I published that right around the time COVID hit and had a lot of speaking gigs lined up, and they all went by the wayside.
Yeah.
And that book was.
I was a tour guide before COVID.
There you go.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
But those are stories that I just really wanted to. I didn't want to take to my grave with me, and they're not all lessons from working around federal judges. There's a story about a lesson I learned from a driver of a Toyota place, when I actually had a discussion with him when he was taking me down to my office, and, a story about something I learned from a moving guy when we were moving from one courthouse to the other, and just life lessons like that I've had fun with. But this is very different. This is my first foray into fiction.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But it's fiction. Like you said, it's a self-help book also, and it's about how addiction and recovery works.
Correct.
But it's a fantasy novel about Merlin.
It is.
At the same time. I think that's wonderful. I'm totally going to read this book.
Add that to your list.
If you read it, I would love a review anywhere or a shout out. So that's the challenge. I don't like doing the marketing. I'd rather do painting.
Sure,
And,
sure.
But
Oh,
I know if I don't do it, nobody else will. But one thing, yes, this is a work of fiction, and I tried to be so true to. I use some real life people in it, which some editor said you shouldn't do in a fiction. For example, I have a chapter on the brain disease of addiction, and there's a guy named Mel Pohl that has written several books on, mainly on the opioid epidemic, and he's the medical director of some different recovery centers. So the chapter on the brain disease of addiction, he shows up at my fictitious recovery center, gives a lecture.
Oh.
So he reviewed that chapter and approved it and gave me
really?
input on it. I have a chapter on ambiguous loss, which is it was developed really with people missing in action, where you're grieving, you're grieving the loss, but they might come back, and it's no different than when someone's on the street. So a woman named Pauline Boss has written several books on ambiguous loss. I know it sounds like a Dr. Seuss rhyme. She reviewed that chapter and gave me input. So I tried very hard to be accurate and respectful of people that have done a lot of work in this area. That's and cool. I wanted to give them a shout out too for how they've helped me.
Yeah, it's a very cross genre. I love it. Those are the best books.
That's really cool.
Honestly,
that's something really different.
When you start breaking the rules, it makes it more interesting. Because you're not supposed to put real people in fiction, but there you go.
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah, do it.
Yep.
And we'll make sure that if you have that book available online or somewhere that someone can buy it, we'll get like your website and put it in the show notes. Good.
It's like when Stephen King wrote himself into the Dark Tower series. For any of those Stephen King nerds out there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Stephen, that's one of the big rules about writing at all, really, is never put yourself in the story.
Yeah.
And Stephen King plays a major role in Stephen King's Dark Tower series.
Okay. I'm not a big
in the later
fiction
books.
Book reader. So I'm more of like, I love an autobiography, a biography, historical, things like that. So, but I'm going to read this. So
well, there's real in there. That's the thing. It's written as a novel, but there's real in there.
And I will probably get personal benefit from it, given
I hope so.
Given the life that I have lived with addicts in my life, currently and past, recovered and deceased. I've kind of check all the boxes. But yes, anyhow, this has been great. And so before we let you get off the couch here, is there any advice or guidance or some kind of beautiful wisdom that you want to leave our listeners with around family recovery and codependency and all these things that you are wonderfully?
Well, I guess the main thing is to remember that you're not alone. Mm-hmm. If Naranon or Al-Anon, a 12-step group doesn't work, NAMI is not 12-step. There's groups in every city. There are Zoom meetings. Don't go through this alone. There are many other people suffering, many people that have far more wisdom than I have that you could benefit from talking to. The other thing that one of the, I think every organization or group has too many acronyms and initials, but the one thing that was hard for me to really understand at first was there's something called the 3 C's of family recovery. Didn't cause it, can't control it, can't cure it. And a messier 4th C is you can contribute to it if you don't get healthier yourself. Now, if our son relapses, that's 100% on him. That is not my responsibility. And I need to do the family work for myself. Mm-hmm. And I also think it's true, the healthier I get, the healthier family members get, the better chance of their loved ones staying clean or getting clean. Mm-hmm. But again, that doesn't mean you bear the responsibilities. This stuff is messy. Right. If it wasn't messy, it'd be easy, right?
It's like your passive behaviors that you're not even thinking about could actually end up enabling the addiction, the people around you.
Yeah. I mean, if someone comes out of recovery and they're clean for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, you're always checking their phone and checking their drawer, is that healthy or not? So understanding those boundaries and understanding boundaries is huge too. I've heard so many family members, it's tragic when they say, I can't kick my child out. Well, how old's your child? Well, mid-30s, and he or she is stealing everything from me and I have to lock my door. Well, I would never kick a child out of my home. A child may choose to have to leave because of the boundaries we set, and there's a big difference. So
sure.
These are things you learn by being around people that, do the work.
Yeah, when you frame it that way.
Right.
It's their choice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And everything comes back down to choices in most cases.
Yep.
Right.
Make good choices, everybody.
I mean, I yell that to my kids when they leave the house, especially my oldest, who's 17. I do it even to his friends. I'm like, make good choices. Love you, Mom. Always. I'm like, don't do drugs. Make good choices.
And one closing thing, in case our son sees this, I'm super proud of you and love you. How's that?
There you go.
It's a little, I will share it. Our son, when he got into recovery, read my book and gave me input. I have a whole chapter on game theory, and because he knows more about that than I do,
Mm-hmm.
and he reviewed that and gave me
Game
input.
theory is awesome.
And so he blessed it. It was a little bit awkward. He's like, I know I'm sort of in here in a couple different ways, and it's a little bit strange, but he gave me permission. And
That's cool.
I love you a lot if you see this.
Well, and congrats to your son for his sobriety too. So all of you, really, it's a struggle. I have been exposed to it my entire life.
Let's get the title of the book one more time. What's it called?
A Wizard's Guide to Family Recovery
by Lance Wilson.
Yep. And if you're lucky enough to be in the Tucson area where he's giving a talk, or maybe at the next Grateful Festival, come on out next year, Memorial Day weekend.
There you go. Come meet us at the Grateful Festival in the spring.
Yeah. And find your jam band community. Find your wharf rat or your jellyfish or your whatever other name it is.
String cheese has jellyfish.
Because all you need to get high is good music, man.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's it, right? Like the resources are there. If you're open to it, if you want it, you can find it. And anyway, thank you for being, I think, an inspiration, so I'm really super grateful that you came here today and sat down and talked to us. I think a lot of people are going to resonate with this conversation and get a lot of value out of it. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on here, Lance.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah. All right.
Done. Thanks for joining us on the Healthcare Uprising. Make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons before you go, and take a moment to think of a friend and hit that share button. You can find us on all the major audio platforms, and we've got video on YouTube if you want to watch us in action.
You can also find us on social media on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Just search Healthcare Uprising to find us. And if you're a new company with a cool new product, if you're someone innovating alternative methods for the health and wellness space, or if you have a personal healthcare journey you'd like to share with us here at The Uprising, please email us at healthcareuprising@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you about coming on the show. Well, that's all for this dose of Healthcare Uprising. Until the next time, keep looking for the good in the world, because sometimes it's where you least expect it.
We are not doctors and we don't play one on TV. If you need medical advice, consult with your physician or a healthcare professional. This has been a Shut Up production.
Shut up!